Good evening. Good evening, President Carver, members of the Governing Board, Superintendent Finch, Mrs. Taylor, district staff, and our special guests. Before heading off to enjoy some turkey and fixing with loved ones, we are celebrating some students and staff that we're truly thankful to have part of our own DVUSD family. Tonight, we're celebrating I'm sorry, hang on. Apparently, I'm ready for turkey already. We begin with a teacher who is no stranger to being recognized for his teaching efforts recently. Each year, the National Education Association Foundation provides national recognition to educators across the country who celebrate and give visibly to the excellence of public education, amplifying the voices of exemplary teachers as advocates for their profession. The 2026 recipients of the NEA Travelers Award for Teaching Excellence, selected by their respective NEA affiliates, represent educators from across the country who embody excellence in their practice, advocate for their profession, demonstrate commitment to equity and opportunity, engage with their communities, and lead in professional developments. All state affiliates are invited to nominate an educator to be celebrated as their representative for their respective state. This year, the Arizona Affiliate Chapter, or AEA, selected none other than Boulder Creek High School's AP World History and Dual Enrollment U.S. teacher, Emmett Burnton. Emmett had this reaction for winning the prestigious award. This award represents the success of Deer Valley and our mission as we aspire to build bridges rather than walls across the state. It shows that NEA's foundation, along with the Deer Valley Unified School District, share common values in community, democracy, and equity. This award proves that within our schools, we give students the opportunity to become active participants in a world around them rather than just bystanders. Here to say a few more words about Emmett, even though he's already standing there, is AEA President Marisol Garcia.
Really excited to be here tonight and to also give our award to Emmett, who will be competing for the national award at NEA. We are excited to honor him. The award is called for Teaching Excellence, and I think we can all agree he's doing an excellent award, not just representing you all, but within the classroom. So not only a physical award, but also a $5,000 check on behalf of AE.
Next, we honor an educator who is one of only 41 teachers nationwide to be considered a master teacher for Project Lead the Way, or PLTW, for Principles in Biomedical Sciences. In fact, she is the lead master teacher in the nation and facilitates professional developments through the United States, as well as develops national bioscience curriculums. This powerhouse in bioscience education is Mountain Ridge High School's bioscience teacher, Kim Rogers. Her influence goes far beyond the classroom, forging partnerships with Mayo Clinic, Phoenix Children's Hospital, Midwestern University, and TGen, all of which have allowed her students real-world medical experience, all before graduating high school. Within the walls of her classroom, she has created an environment that inspires students, instills confidence in their futures, and allows them to bring learning to life. For all of these reasons and more, Kim Rogers has been named the Arizona Bioindustry Association 2025 Michael A. Kasanovic Bioscience Educator of the Year. She was nominated by Gail Beauchamp, the Director of Industry and Education Partnerships at the Office of Maricopa County Superintendent, in recognition for the opportunities she's provided for Project Lead the Way Biomedical Sciences at Mountain Ridge High School. Kim had this reflection, even though she's still standing up there as well. I enjoy guiding students as they develop critical thinking, creativity, and laboratory skills to solve real-world problems. Teaching the PLTW Biomedical Science program allows me to witness students' growth and discovery of their passion for their futures. I am truly honored to be recognized alongside these leaders in the bioscience industry. Congratulations, 2025 Arizona Bioscience Association Michael A. Kasanovic Bioscience Educator of the Year recipient, Kim Rogers. Next up tonight, DVUSD is continuing the celebration of our students who have demonstrated their state tests are no match for their own brilliance. For the 2024-2025 school year, DVUSD students performed at a rate 16% higher than the statewide average on the AASA English Language Arts Assessment and 17% higher than the state average on the math assessment. A total of 410 students from across Deer Valley earned the best possible score on their ELA, math, or science assessments. Throughout the district, there were 27 students who scored the highest possible scale score on 2 of these assessments, including ELA, math, and/or science in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. The students we are honoring tonight had the highest test scale scores and the highest median percentage growth in their 7th grade year in 2 areas, including English Language Arts, math, or science. First up tonight, from Highland Lakes School, is Mila Abrams. She had this reflection for her success at Highland Lakes. To be honest, I never expected to win this award, but I'm incredibly grateful for it, and I'm very touched and flattered to be receiving it. But truthfully, I never would have won this award if I didn't have 4 absolutely wonderful teachers to guide me through my middle school years. So I would like to personally send out my gratitude and love to Miss Crabtree, Mrs. Harder, Mrs. Kinerin, and Miss Smith. All 4 have been such good mentors, and personally, I think you should definitely be giving this award to them instead of me. They are really the best teachers a middle school girl could ask for and guide through the 2 new, hard, scary years ahead. I feel extremely lucky to have them and have gotten them in the Renaissance program for 3 years now. Because of their constant support of my teachers, my friends, my school, and my district, I feel ready to face the world after middle school, and I owe that all to Highland Lakes. And the district as well, she says. Thank you so much for changing my life forever. Congratulations, Mila Abrams. Next tonight, representing Sierra Verde STEAM Academy, is Jason Umawan. He had this reflection on earning his 2 perfect scores. State testing is very stressful. I'm sure any student would agree. Before I took the test, my own self-doubts were weighing me down, as usual. My mind raced with questions. Was I good enough? Should I have studied more? Did I deserve to be in this advanced class? Did I ever? When I walked out the room after taking the assessment, I felt a relief wash over me and a sickening suspense waiting for my results. I thought surely mistakes had slipped my mind. The disappointment was certain. But to my surprise, I received my results and found 2 perfect scores before me. Never have I thought of myself in any measure good enough to achieve such a thing. All my life, I thought of myself as less, dwarfed in comparison to my peers. All this time, I've equated myself to adequacy, just average, nothing more. Skeptic whispers would fill my head. My doubts would worry, staining my every thought of ink on the page. But now, the proof is there. My own pessimism has been stripped of ammunition. Where there were doubts, only the proven has remained. Congratulations, Jason Umawan. And rounding out tonight's student honorees is Stetson Hill's Laura Roshinsky. She couldn't be here tonight, but we wanted to honor her efforts. If we could have both of the 7th graders that are now 8th graders back up to the stage for a picture. And finally tonight, we're honoring a school that is a true trailblazer for all high schools in the state of Arizona. Barry Goldwater High School was recently named the first high school in all of Arizona to earn Solution Tree's Model PLC at Work Schools distinction. Schools earning this title are recognized based on a strict criteria, including demonstration of commitment to professional learning communities, or PLC concepts, implementation of these concepts for at least 3 years, and clear evidence of improved student learning over that period. Once measurable results are visible, the school must explain its practices, structures, and culture and submit an application for consideration by the PLC Review Committee. The Barry Goldwater High School team had this reflection on being recognized as the first model PLC school in the state of Arizona. We are truly honored that Barry Goldwater High School has been recognized as a Solution Tree Model PLC at Work school, a distinction that reflects our commitment to ensuring high levels of learning for all students through collaboration, collective responsibility, and a focus on results. We are especially grateful to have worked alongside Amy Moore, manager of PLC, and Tate Moline, PLC trainer from the DVUSD district office. Their expertise, feedback, and encouragement guided us through every step of this application process, helping us refine and strengthen our written descriptions of our work. Our journey began in the fall of 2019 under the leadership of our former principal, Dr. Anita Stolk. The results of the annual Title I Comprehensive Needs Assessment revealed that although we deeply cared for our students, not everyone believed that all students can learn at the highest levels. Many teachers were working in isolation. Curriculum used was inconsistent, assessment expectations varied from classroom to classroom, and data was rarely used to guide instruction. Despite the passion our staff had for our students, failure rates were high, and teachers often felt discouraged when confronted with students' performance data. We knew we had to address the needs of our staff that they had identified. Around this time, we were given the opportunity to work with Project Momentum, an organization that provided the framework for our improvement, mentorship, and funding to support this professional growth. This partnership marked a true turning point for Barry Goldwater High School. For the first time, we were able to bring our teachers together for professional development that allowed them to plan collaboratively and learn alongside their colleagues. It also helped us understand that both adults and students grow through productive struggle. That meaningful learning requires effort, reflection, and perseverance. Leveraging crucial support from the DVUSD PLC department and resources like Taking Action and Learning by Doing, the staff established collaborative teams focused on 4 essential PLC questions and developed collective commitments for teamwork and instructional focus. These cross-department teams, which included both general and special education teachers, successfully navigated challenges collaboratively, unpacked standards, created common formative assessments, and examined data, leading to more unified, reflective, and empowered professional staff. Most importantly, our teachers have become not only learners, but leaders. Designed in facilitating professional developments, sharing best practices, and modeling the belief that professional learning and student learning go hand in hand. This peer-driven model has transformed our culture into one where collaboration fuels growth, productive struggle is embraced as part of the learning process, and reflection drives improvement. This award is a celebration of the persistence, hard work, and dedication of our teachers, as well as their unwavering commitment to student success. Becoming a model PLC school affirms that Barry Goldwater High School is a true professional learning community, one where every student's success is at the center of all we do, and where we continue to grow together, united in purpose, belief, and action. Congratulations, Model PLC at Work School, the very first in Arizona, Barry Goldwater High School. And that concludes tonight's very brief award ceremony.
I'd like to welcome everybody out tonight and call this meeting of the regularly scheduled Deer Valley Unified School District Board meeting to order at 7 p.m. Let the roll call show that all members are present, save for Ms. Simichek, who is absent. Dr. Galligan, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. I have a motion for tonight's agenda. Dr. Pack?
I move that the governing board adopt the agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Taylor. First up on tonight's agenda is item 3A, DVSD Technology Vision. Dr. Galligan, you have a presentation for us?
That I do, sir.
Thanks, ma'am.
Good evening, President Carter, members of the board, Dr. Finch, and our community. We are here tonight to present the culmination of the dedicated work by our Technology Vision Committee. I'm joined by Michelle Coots, our Manager of Instructional Technology, and Elizabeth Reyes, our Technology Integration Coach. Tonight we will share the comprehensive Technology Vision Plan with you. And we'll get to the slides in just a moment. In Deer Valley, we have consistently upheld the understanding that digital literacy is essential for extraordinary learning experiences for our children and productivity in an increasingly digital world for all of our stakeholder groups. Through the implementation of the DVUSD Technology Vision Plan, which you have in front of you, we look forward to 2030 and beyond and the pursuit of sustainable, secure, and innovative technology practices.
Good evening, President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, and our community. The foundation of this plan is broad stakeholder collaboration. As you can see, the 2024-25 Technology Vision Committee was a 38-member group that included district and campus leaders, teachers, counselors, parents, and community partners. Some of our community committee members are here with us this evening and around the room. It's great to see them here supporting it, and we'll continue to convene with them periodically for monitoring and advisory input. The perspectives from this group of stakeholders shaped the technology vision representing shared community goals. We are incredibly grateful for their time and expertise. The work of this committee builds upon the district's existing efforts with technology. To support our committee in assessing our current standing, we conducted classroom learning walks and prepared presentation boards posted at the front of the room this evening to provide insight into the current state of technology practices in DVUSD for the committee to review and to chart a path forward.
Good evening, President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, and our community. The collaborative spirit of committee members helped us define our core values for instructional technology. This is our why. We intentionally planned for and focused on learning targets. Technology can foster student ownership of their learning and open doors for relevant and tangible applications that support our students in their current and future pursuits beyond DVUSD. Our motto since 2017 about using technology is connecting with purpose. Our guiding principle is that all technology use must be intentional, balanced, and above all, learning focused. This means we leverage technology to facilitate learner agency, engage students as active participants, and provide meaningful, challenging learning. Technology alone doesn't make this impact.
It is the masterful planning of the teacher who implements it. This mastery includes knowing the importance of a healthy balance, recognizing that learning also comes from moments when technology is purposefully not used.
This why is also grounded in a global context. The 2025 Future of Jobs report from the World Economic Forum highlights the top 10 fastest growing skills by 2030. As you can see, AI, cybersecurity, and technological literacy are not just tech jobs. They are foundational skills for the entire workforce. Our plan acknowledges this reality along with the growing presence of technology in everyday life. Our responsibility is to ensure every DVUSD student is prepared for the expanding digital demands by developing skills that prepare them for the future.
More importantly, this technology vision is not a new, separate initiative. It is a vehicle to foster the skills and attitudes already set forth in our district's Portrait of a Graduate. This plan is how we scale and embed digital skills, how we prepare our students to become effective communicators, intellectually curious problem solvers, and community contributors in a digital world. The work of this committee resulted in the formal Technology Vision 2030 and Beyond plan, which provides our roadmap for the coming years. This plan is built on the 4 pillars of our district strategic plan, starting with our primary focus of student learning.
Our vision for student learning is organized into simple, powerful set of digital skills: navigate, innovate, and communicate. These skills are based on the Arizona Academic Standards for Educational Technology and Computer Science, along with Deer Valley Unified's Portrait of a Graduate. Developing these digital skills is our framework for excellence in student learning with technology. Now we'll take a closer look at each of these digital skills.
Navigate digitally lays the foundation for engaging with the digital world safely and effectively. It is built on 3 components: computing essentials, or the how-to, digital citizenship, the should-do, and the necessity of AI literacy. In Deer Valley, we support students' development of digital citizenship and AI literacy skills. Every student at every grade level receives specific, required instruction on topics from online safety in kindergarten to understanding AI prompts in middle school. We also have clear, measurable goals for keyboarding, a skill that remains essential for all future learning and assessment.
Once students can navigate the digital world, we want them to innovate within it. This moves students from being consumers of technology to creators. This is where we focus on high-demand skills like computer science, data analysis, and hands-on STEM learning, directly aligning with the problem solver trait in our Portrait of a Graduate. Using the design process provides a problem-solving framework that students can leverage across disciplines. You can see the specific grade-level STEM learning kits that students at each Deer Valley campus, the design process. Opportunities for students to showcase and extend their learning beyond the classroom include robotics competitions and STEM nights hosted by campuses.
The third digital skill in the Deer Valley Technology Vision Plan is communicate digitally. This is about how students clearly articulate their ideas through the integrated use of technology. In relation to the Portrait of a DVUSD graduate, this means being an effective communicator and community contributor in digital environments. It's about leveraging technology to present ideas to an authentic audience, provide feedback, and work in teams. As you see in these photos, this takes many forms, from elementary students co-authoring a digital presentation to middle schoolers collaborating on a project and to our high school students running a full media lab. They are learning to create and communicate in the same way they will in college and their future careers.
The technology vision for Deer Valley for student learning is reinforced by effective systems. In alignment with the Deer Valley strategic plan, our technology vision also sets forth goals in the areas of workforce performance, stakeholder relationships, and organizational improvement. Intentional systems and efforts in each of these areas support the vision for excellence in student learning, with technology to become a reality at every school for every student.
To achieve this vision for students, we must invest in our staff. Excellence in workforce performance is our commitment to robust professional development, equipping new and continuing educators. We are cultivating digital expertise through our professional learning opportunities, such as Deer Valley's annual Summer Tech Fest, supports including our Tech Hub resources and instructional coaching, and the Campus Technology Leaders Program. Included in the technology vision is the goal for each educator to champion digital literacy as they model and integrate opportunities for students to develop digital skills.
Just like the development of DVUSD's Technology Vision Plan was a collaborative effort, the implementation is also a shared endeavor. Excellence in stakeholder relationships means establishing and strengthening partnerships with the community. Working in collaboration with business and community partners offers students real-world learning opportunities and supports our educators. We also aim to increase our efforts in partnership with parents around the digital topics, including familiarity with digital resources, promoting media literacy, and guiding responsible technology use. Our families are partners in this journey.
Excellence in organizational improvement is the foundation that ensures our vision is sustainable, secure, and effective. We'll intentionally collect and analyze data to make informed decisions about professional development and evaluate the use of digital resources. In partnership with the Information Services and Technology Department, we continue to expand cybersecurity to protect our student and staff through advanced technical safeguards and promoting a culture of security awareness. Finally, a key part of using technology effectively requires managing resources to ensure the longevity of devices and sustained access for our students and staff to the high-impact tools they need.
These 4 pillars, student learning, powered by our workforce, supported by our stakeholders, and sustained by our organizational systems, all come together to form one cohesive technology vision 2030 and beyond. The DVUSD Technology Vision Snapshot is the one-page summary of the entire Technology Vision Plan. Contained within the plan are details of the objectives for each of the 4 areas. These documents are available to our entire community via the web addresses on this slide and on instructional technology page of the DVUSD website, ensuring transparency and alignment as we move forward.
On behalf of the entire Technology Vision Committee and our instructional technology team, thank you. And I would like to ask if any of the Technology Vision Committee members are here, would you mind standing up? We just want to thank them for the time and effort they put into being on this team. Thank you. We are immensely proud of the collaborative effort and work and excited to implement this vision for our students, staff, and community. We would be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Galligan. Anybody? Mrs. Fisher? Okay. No. Thank you for a very well put together presentation, and I also want to thank the committee. You guys don't get thanked enough, those folks in the community that step forward and help us with these committees, so thank you so much for that, and thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Next up on the agenda, item 3B, FY25 DVUSD accountability. Dr. Smith.
President Carver, members of the governing board, Dr. Finch, as you are all well aware, I think everybody in any K-12 capacity is aware, ADE letter grades, accountability letter grades, recently became public information. I get the honor tonight of looking very quickly at Deer Valley Unified School District's accountability results. We'll do a little comparison and look at kind of overall how we did. Here's the purpose of the presentation, which is doing exactly what I just said. Just kind of, we're going to review the structure again real quickly. You've seen the structure several times, but just to remind you, and maybe it's a resource for you down the road, look at some of the Deer Valley results, and then we'll look at some peer districts as well as how we did relative to the state and the county. Just a real quick agenda here, stating the same thing. The overall, we'll look at the overall grade structure, then we'll look at the components relative to the K-8 model and relative to the high school accountability model, and then we'll look at some of our comparisons here. I'm actually going to present this accountability system here in 3 different ways, so I won't spend too much time on any one way, but this is basically the verbal version of what all the components are and what they mean if I was going to write them down in words real briefly. So you see proficiency, growth, English language learner proficiency and growth, and an area called acceleration and readiness. Those are all from the K-8 model. Then you see graduation rate and improvement rate in graduation, college and career readiness for the high school model, and then a set of bonus points. So again, I'm going quick, I know, but you're going to see this in a couple of different ways. I really like showing it this way. This is a little pie chart way of showing the breakdown of the 2 main models. There is a third model. There's a model for alternative schools also, but we don't. It's not applicable to Deer Valley Unified. We obviously leverage the K-8 model and the 9-12 model. Here, I think it's important to show here on the K-8 model, which you can see in the pie chart, the weight that's put on growth for K-8. 50%, half of the weight for the overall AF letter grade for K-8 schools is on learning growth. The rest of it, of course, is spread out, among other things, proficiency, English language learners, and a whole category of acceleration and readiness, which you'll see in a second. As you go to the high school model, the 9-12 model, there's a much smaller weight on growth. If you were lucky enough several years ago to sit in front of the State Board of Education as they hashed through this, they said at some point, you got to stop looking at growth and you got to expect kids to be proficient. And I think they decided it's a high school, we want there to be less weight of growth and more a weight on a proficiency and graduating and be ready for college and career in their future. So you can see the weight moves towards proficiency, graduation, and college and career readiness, while there's still a small growth component and also an English language learner component for the high school model. And as promised, here's the third way I'm going to show you these models. You can kind of see here maybe a little more detail on each of the components. You see growth there first, and you can see, you know, the assessments that it's relative to, whether it's relative to K-8 or K-12. There's a column there called FAE, which stands for full academic year, and it just is checked. It means they use full academic year students only, the students that have been with the district within the first 10 days of the school year and are here the first day of testing. And then you can see the grades that are applied to for each of those components. So you have growth, proficiency, EL, and acceleration and readiness here on this chart. I did promise a little more detail on acceleration and readiness. You can see there it's broken down into several components, how our 3rd graders did on the ELA assessment, how our 8th graders did on the math assessment, an area of chronic absenteeism, some subpopulation performance is on there, and then special ed inclusion is part of the acceleration and readiness components. The rest of the model is our graduation results. You see a graduation rate. They do look at several cohorts, a 4-year, 5-year, 6-year, and 7-year cohort of graduation. And then they look for improvement in your 4-year graduation rate year over year. And then a whole collection of things called college and career readiness indicators, which each individual student is looked at to say, did they get experience and education and opportunities in high school to make sure they are ready for college and career going forward. Under both models, there's a set of bonus points which are available, both K-8 and high school. You get bonus points for your AZ-SCI, the science state assessment, and how their proficiency level for special ed enrollment. And then for the high school model, you get bonus points for participation rate on the ACT Aspire, which is the 9th grade, the early high school assessment in several content areas. So again, I know it was a lot of redundancy there, but I think each way shows you a little bit different way of breaking down each of those components. Here's a little descriptor of what those letter grades might mean. This is actually right off of ADE website on what an A, B, C, D, and F means. And you can see the one-word descriptors there is excellent, all the way down to mentally performing and failing. And then some of the things that they want to say are happening if we're going to receive that level of A grade. A being you're kind of highly performing, significantly higher than the state on average, distinguished performance, etc. Then you go all the way down to, kind of like need help, we need work here. There's inadequate performance at a D. And so there's kind of variations in there as you look at that, how to kind of think about each of these letter grades. So here's the final letter grades that we had for fiscal year 25. All the schools are listed there with their final letter grade. If you're part of the audience or if you're a board member interested in a specific school, you can find that school or schools and say, okay, now I know what they got. And if you didn't already know the letter grade they earned, just the highlights here are their 27 A letter grades. These, again, the highest number of A letter grades that I've seen since I've been here for a while, and we've never had that many A letter grades or the top tier grades. Notice also again that all 5 comprehensive high schools have an A grade, and a little shout out to 7 of our schools that improved their letter grade year over year. So I'm just going to say their names real quick. Bel Air, Constitution, Desert Mountain, Mirage, Paseo Hills, Sunrise, and Village Meadows all improved their letter grade year over year. So congratulations to them. And finally, the district. LEAs have received letter grades. This is the 3rd year in a row that the LEA also gets a letter grade. Again, Deer Valley Unified School District has an A letter grade. This is a function of how all the schools did, and so a kind of accumulation of all those grades bring Deer Valley as a school district to an A level also. So that's a huge shout out to the district as a whole. So I did a little breakdown of some of the components of the letter grade. We talked about them already. There's 3 tables on here. There's a table showing growth, proficiency, and total points. These show how kind of the top tier of schools did on the growth chart. There I'm showing all the schools that got at least 90% or higher of their growth points. That means there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 schools and a couple of really close. They got 100% of the possible points they could get on the growth component in the letter grade model. And that's a huge shout out to those schools and the ability to get that. Again, the KA model, remember, growth counts for 50% of the overall letter grade. So to get a high portion of those points means you're well on your way to a final high score. The middle chart is proficiency. This shows the schools that had at least 80% of the proficiency points from the letter grade. And finally, total points. You see all the schools that had at least 90% or higher, and just kind of that's a Scott Smith random cut for each of those charts, but 90% or higher total points on the right-hand side. I just wanted to recognize some of these schools and have the board, kind of also in your mind, see them and kind of see where performance is happening. You can see it's happening across the district, across socioeconomic levels, across grade levels, and regions. So this is, again, I think it's important to understand that it's not pockets here and there. It's kind of a district-wide thing that's happening with our schools. This is the actual if you could look at that chart I just showed you, that table I just showed you, you'd be able to figure this out, but I'm going to summarize it here for you. This is the actual distribution of letter grades, and what I've shown here in blue is the state. Then you see Maricopa County, then you see all the charter schools within Maricopa County, and then finally in the green bar is Deer Valley. So on the left side are the K-8 schools. You can see there are 65% of our schools in K-8 had an A grade, and you can see the B's and a couple of C's, but you can also see that for the state and the county and charter schools, and you can see kind of just Deer Valley blowing away kind of the rest of the group there. I will show you some peer districts here in a second also. On the right-hand side, same thing, but for high schools, which is, little information I'm giving you a little early in this slide. 100% of the schools there had an A. I already said that before, but it's going to be really important in a little bit. So that's just the distribution, and I think that's a pretty telling chart right there for K-8 and high school. You hear us talk a lot, and you hear Dr. Finch talk a lot about the number of schools proportion of schools that have either an A or B letter grade, that, kind of where the schools are the top couple of tiers. And here you can see, again, the state and the county and charter schools, but I've also included a couple of our peer districts right around us. You see on the K-8 side, we're kind of chasing Scottsdale a little bit there, but, doing very well overall, and we're going to get there. On the right-hand side, you see high schools against the state and the county and charters. You can see A and B letter grades for Deer Valley is great. What you'll also see there is that, all three of those other districts that are kind of right around us, that are kind of considered our peer districts, are also 100% A and B letter grades. So I decided to break it down a little bit more. I said, well, what about just A letter grades? So here the red bars are just A letter grades. So you can see the proportion of schools that got A letter grades. It says just high schools now. And so that kind of is a good distinction there, I think, for Deer Valley Unified School District, because now you can see where we are relative to those other school districts and the state and the county. And I think this is kind of close to the end here. This is just the letter grade points received on average. Again, K-8 on the left-hand side. These are all out of 100 possible points, because they weight it. If you aren't eligible for some component, they will weight it to be at 100 points. So you can see Deer Valley there on the left-hand side. I should have probably made that a different color, but that would have been nice. And then you see on the right-hand side, our high schools crushing it for Deer Valley with a total number of points on average approaching the top, 100%. So again, another shout out actually to all of our schools. These are, in my mind, amazing results. And I think we should all be very proud of our teachers and our kids and our principals and the results that they're getting across the district at the schools. The final slide I have here is just a reminder that, and you've seen this several times in the past with Mr. Migliorino, and I'm sure you'll see it with Ms. Mock a lot as we go forward. You can see that as a district, we're very competitive on the right-hand side with the proportion of our budget that is allocated to classroom support, either classroom teaching or instructional support. On the right-hand side, all there around the 73% of the budget. On the left-hand side, you can see, and by the way, Deer Valley's is lower in general than the rest of our peer districts, and especially the state. And we know the state is there around 49th or 50th in the United States. I think we're officially at 50 now, but we're even lower than what the state gets. Yet we have the amazing results as a district that you just saw with those numbers. So again, congratulations to the district in my mind for an A, and another quick shout out to all of the schools that had a letter grade of A. I'd be willing to take any questions if you have them.
Any questions for Dr. Smith? Dr. Pack? No. Dr. Finch?
I just want to ask Dr. Smith, or just make a point. I've tried to reiterate this over and over and over and over again, that we can't compare year to year for letter grades or even testing grades, because Remember, the state changes the bell curve every year. They move the cut score every year. So the only way you can really use it for comparisons is for, as Dr. Smith has correctly done, compared to your peers and compared to the state, compared to the county, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, and so as you can see, Deer Valley crushed it again. And so we just want to say thanks to administrators, staff, board, all working together to bring out these amazing results with less dollars per student than our peers. And so just wanted to say thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Finch. Anyone else? Mrs. Fisher.
It's great to look at it this way. Deer Valley is always excellent. It has been for the last 30 years. It's wonderful to see that our scores are always good. Our A to F accountability has always been good. Our grades are always good. Now, whether or not you compare year over year, it depends on what it is you're using this data for. When used for marketing, using the letters of A to F is obviously really good for Deer Valley because we're always in the A-B. Rarely we get a few C's, but we always bring them up. But you can compare year over year. In fact, that's what you do when you want to look at where we may need supports. And I think it's important that we acknowledge when a school drops slightly in their overall score, take a look at where it is and see what the reason was, so that we know where to apply supports so that that can then be increased. The point isn't to say that that school is bad, it's to say there may be a need for support in this area for that school. And we can either have the conversation openly and bluntly and talk about it. None of our schools, 19 of them dropped from their previous year. None of them dropped significantly to say they're a bad school now. None of them dropped significantly to say, I don't even think they dropped a letter grade. They dropped a number. And numbers are important, and it's important that we take a look at those, and I'm asking that you take a look at wherever it was we declined because I haven't taken time to look at what portion. I looked at an overall score and see if there is anything that we need to perhaps apply additional support for our teachers, for our administrators, for our parents, for our kids at those schools to help them come back where they were or improve next year. What I do worry about a lot, we had the Ames testing years ago, and the Department of Education does love to throw out a test. This is going to be the next best, greatest thing, and then they get rid of it, and they do it over and over. The reason I liked the Ames was it was a basic proficiency test, and what we found is that across the state, students could not pass it, which is why they got rid of it. Too many kids were getting certificates of completion versus diplomas. So while I appreciate this data, I know how hard your department works to analyze data and look at it every way but sideways, and sometimes sideways too, to help us make sure we're doing. I'm just asking that you look at any of the drops, see where it may have been, because it could be as stupid as well, you didn't put a dot on this form, and this was a form of whatever, which is why we can address some of those. If that's all it is, so what? But if any of those are because that school needs support, I would like for you to let us know so that we know that school, where we could potentially put that. That's all.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Carver, Ms. Fisher, yes, I would say you're spot on. We look for schools that have dropped, and we look for areas where they dropped and whether it was something, and we drill down. Of course, we had schools to be quite honest with you, you saw 7 schools that improved their grade. We had a couple of schools drop from a B to A, and it devastated them, and they want to know what's going on here and what do we need to do. And we have our principal supervisors here in this room that are working with those schools, saying, okay, where did each grade level do and how they do. I do hesitate, though, again, just to compare year over year. Especially, I would never go back to Ames and try to compare to Ames, but, you know, if you think about it, you know, growth, growth data at a K-8 school, 20% of those kids are new kids. 4th graders come in, 8th graders go out. At a K-6 school, 33% of them are new kids. And at a middle school and high school, half of them are new kids every year that we're receiving this information on. So it's real hard to say, okay, here's the kids, let's make sure they're getting better, because a lot of them are new kids. But to address your general concern, I think you're spot on, and I think we're right there with you. And that's 100% where we as a district want to support them and say, where does improvement need to occur and what do we need to do it? I'd be willing to let Dr. Galligan or Dr. Zierbach also address that if you want.
Yeah, I appreciate the answer, because I do agree. You know, even in enrollment, you watch the cohort movement of students. You know, how many kids went from kinder to 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and see if you can follow them through. I'm just asking that internally and share with the board, you know, what areas we may need additional support if you identify any. If you don't identify any, we're already on there, great. But it is important to look at that, in my opinion, because we can't grow if we don't find where those areas are. But thank you for the report. I appreciate it.
Dr. Finch?
Yeah, just a reminder too, I don't disagree with that concept. If an A goes down to a B, but a 94 one year and a 93 the next year, you cannot compare. Again, to your point, there's no significant difference between those. So to say 44% of our school districts went down, or our schools went down in their letter grade is inaccurate. That's not correct information. And again, we use it in general to compare against our peers to see if what we're doing matches what the state is doing. So we do drill down when a A goes to a B, or a B goes to a C, or a C goes to an A. We want to know what they did likely, but when you go from 27 A's to 27 A's and a 94 went to a 93, we don't lose any sleep over that, because that grade is in comparison to the new kids that are taking the tests. Remember, the cut score moves every year.
Any other board members with questions or comments?
I just want to reiterate that the score is comprised of a lot of different components. And so it's important to look at all of them individually. And I know it's new students, but you can identify where there's issues when you see those drops, if they're there, just to simply make it a marketing tool. I don't want my kids comparing themselves to the neighbor kid, because the neighbor kid might have rich parents, so that kid's wearing, you know, driving a Mercedes and having Nikes and doing all this and that. I want my kids to see that, you know, they were kinder to people today. They were working hard in doing their job. We can't control others, but we can control what we do within ourselves. And that's the reason for looking at it. I don't think we had that many drop a grade. We're talking about a number. And so I do think it's very important, but that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Dr. Pack?
In the spirit of a growth mindset and productive struggle and all that, how many schools dropped from an A last year to a B this year?
I actually have, we had 3 schools, Arrowhead, Canyon Springs, and Gavilan Peak. Remembering the cutoff is an 84. They had 82.17, 83.69, and 82.06 respectively, right on the cusp. And so, and again, you could talk to each of those school leaders, and they were all like devastated. Okay, what do we do? Where did we go wrong or go in the wrong direction? And believe me, they're drilling down, looking at them.
Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you, Dr. Smith. Appreciate you. Next on the agenda is item 3C, Fiscal and Business Services Report. Ms. Mock?
Good evening, President Carver, Dr. Finch, members of the board, and guests. This evening, we have 3 financial reports to present to the board. The first is the M&O budget report for the month ending of October 2025. Overall, we are trending at about 86% of what we've spent so far of that total spent to date of $83.4 million. 86% of that is salaries and benefits, which is to be expected. It's a little higher than normal. We trend between 80 and 85% overall, but we did make one of those major prepayments for our insurance early in the month of October, so that's showing in the report now as well. The next 3 categories after that have the highest amount of expenditures from the budget are utilities, followed by liability insurance. And again, the reason that the liability insurance remains one of the highest categories to date at just under 2% of the total budget spent is because it is a prepay. And wrapping up our top 4 would be our school discretionary budgets. Compared to last year, we have spent a commensurate amount, seeing that there were no significant changes to the budget overall. Despite having some budget reductions, we were able to make some of those up in other ways. And the one difference that you will see if you were comparing fiscal year 25 to fiscal year 26 is that in that final next to last column, committed budget balance, at this time last year, we had $70 million in a committed budget balance compared to the $48 million right now. And that's where you will see the representation of some of those budget cuts the most at the moment. With that, I will take any questions about the M&O budget report before we get into student activities or auxiliary.
No questions other than what I already asked. Thank you for those answers.
Thank you. Mrs. Fisher?
Heather, you said you made a prepayment for the benefits. Do you make one big lump payment or do we make multiple?
President Carver, Mrs. Fisher, Dr. Finch, and guests, typically we make 2. It's typically in September, and we will do 11/12 of our annual contribution to Valley Schools Employee Benefit Group, and then we wait until the end of the school year to make that final 1/12 payment. Part of that is for cash management strategies, and actually that's why we waited until October to make the payment this year, was to make sure that we had enough cash available for the payment to go through Maricopa County Treasurer's Office.
Do we have any other of those prepayments that need to be made into any of the trusts?
President Carver, Mrs. Fisher, Dr. Finch, we do not at this time. We would not expect to see any of those insurance payments except for the final employee benefit contribution probably in May or June.
Do you have a rough idea of how much that is?
I do not, but I can put it in the next board update.
Okay. Well, the reason I'm asking is because, and I know the budget is set for this year, but however, there is that furlough day, and we have very healthy trusts. If there's any way that and I know that you can't take money out of a trust, I'm very well aware of that. However, what you can do is underpay them. And when we have a healthy balance, and we know that we have a potential in the future, I would really like to see some avenue for that furlough day to be removed. Because our employees cannot afford it. It's a difficulty that is not unnecessary if we have a reserve somewhere that can take that up. If not, if not, but I would like to know if there's a possibility, and the trusts are an area that I know that we can well, if we've already paid it, we can't underpay it, but we can plan to underpay that 1/12 and potential the rest. But I would like to have an idea of where we could potentially make that adjustment. Thank you.
President Carver, Mrs. Fisher, Dr. Finch, we would echo your sentiments. We agree, and we have already begun talks with our negotiated solutions teams and through our regular processes to see if we have the budget and the budget capacity to reinstate that day this year, and what that might look like. And when I say reinstate that day, I don't want to cause panic out there. It would not mean anyone working in 2 months or less than 2 months now on January 5th, but reinstating it as far as right back into the payroll for all employees that are still employed at that time.
Thank you, Ms. Mock. Any further questions? Appreciate the presentation.
And President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, and guest, we have presented the auxiliary and the student activities reports as well. I will take any questions on those reports if there are questions at this time.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none. Next. Are you done, Ms. Mock?
I apologize, President Carver. Yes, I am. That concludes
Okay,
my report.
I'm sorry, I miscounted. I apologize. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board approve consent agenda items 4A through 4J.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstaining. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Next item on the agenda is item 5A. Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board approve and ratify all employee professional development out of state per governing board policy GCCE.
Is there a second? Is there any information to be shared with the board on this item? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Just so you know, I'm voting nay. I got concern from the community. I received concerns from the community about this item. I understand why they're concerned, and it's not something that should be hashed out here. It should have been a pre-discussion, so that's the reason I'm voting nay.
Thank you, Ms. Fisher. Item 5B, Dr. Pack. Thank you.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to pre-approve the addenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Not beyond the questions I already asked. Thank you for those answers.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Item 5C, Dr. Pack.
I move that the governing board approve representation for DVUSD to participate in the ASBA School Coalition on APS rate increase.
Is there a second?
Aye. Aye. Second.
Okay, I'd asked for this to be put on the agenda from an email that I received from the Arizona School Board Association. They're putting a coalition of school districts and governing boards together as they have filed to legally represent the schools in an attempt to try to not allow this rate increase from APS. So the idea here behind this vote is whether or not the DVUSD board is interested in participating in this so that we can have a voice and lend our 2 cents to the conversation. I did inquire, and Ms. Mock, do you have any information for us as to what exactly our bills look like when it comes to electricity and what this rate increase might do to us?
President Carver, members of the board, Dr. Finch, and guests, we did have a regular meeting with our utility management group this morning, and I inquired. We actually talk about the rate increases and the rate cases on a monthly basis. We don't have a dollar value yet. We know that several groups, in addition to ASA, there will be ASBO and ASBA that will be interveners in the case. A lot of it also on the school business side, spearheaded by my predecessor, Jim Migliorino. Testimony in that will start probably in January, and so whatever increases might be, we will see probably in December of 26 or January of 27, and I will have a better dollar value of what that might look like for us specifically at our December meeting about a month from now.
Understood. Thank you. Any conversation from the board on this topic? Dr. Pack?
What would it look like when you said the board being involved? Are we talking the board as a whole or members attending, et cetera?
Well, the invitation from ASBA is for the board to participate. Now, what they're doing is they're having a Zoom call to get everybody's 2 cents. So I would presume that we would have a representative on the Zoom call instead of all of us participating, though the invitation is there for all of us. So whichever direction the board would choose to go, at this point, the ask is just whether or not we want to participate. And they haven't given a date yet for this Zoom call. It's still a work in progress on their end. So if the board as a whole would like to participate, then that's just what we'll need to communicate to them. If we're going to have yourself or myself as you're being the delegate and me being the president, one of us attending, then that just needs to be stipulated so that we know how to participate.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Well, I don't have a problem with us all being on a Zoom call and listening to the conversation. I think it's important that we're aware because the utility rate hikes are out of hand. Unfortunately, we as a board have no authority over it. We elect a board of supervisors that handles that, and I think we need to individually hold them accountable to not fall into allowing these rate hikes over and over again. You know, there's always talk of back-end deals or whatever, and I don't know, I've never been on the board of supervisors, so I have no idea. But we can hold them accountable. We can hold them accountable. And my concern is I don't want the district getting involved in another legal battle. We are like a prostitute for every the district is for every political thing, and we pay these lawyer fees. I'd rather not pay a lawyer. I'd rather put that money in a classroom and educate our kids. I'd rather put it something else. So I don't mind us listening, but I think we need to be very conscious about getting involved in what potentially could be a larger lawsuit.
Okay, just for everybody's benefit then, if it's okay with the board, I'll read this brief letter that went out from ASBA so that everybody can better understand the ask as to whether or not we want to participate. It's addressed to me and it says, I am reaching out, and this is from Lupe Castro at the Arizona School Board Association. I'm reaching out regarding the recent proposal from APS to increase electricity rates by approximately 14% with the change scheduled to take effect in July of 2026, pending approval by the Arizona Corporation Commission. If approved, this rate adjustment would substantially raise electricity costs for schools within the APS service areas. For context, APS received an 8% rate increase last year after originally requesting 13%. In comparison, SRP recently approved a 2.9% rate increase for customers overall while reducing electricity costs for schools by 3.1% under their updated rate plans. This constraint underscores the importance of ensuring that rate structures in the APS territory do not place additional strain on school budgets. To ensure the voices of Arizona's public schools are represented in this process, the Arizona School Board Association has retained legal counsel and filed to serve as an intervener in this case. This action allows ASBA to directly participate in hearings, engage with regulators, and advocate for fairer outcomes that protect educational resources. As part of this effort, ASBA is forming a coalition of school districts and governing board members to coordinate advocacy, share information, and explore opportunities for testimony when the ACC begins hearings in January. Your leadership and participation are essential to ensuring that the collective concerns of schools are clearly heard throughout this process. ASBA invites your governing board to join this coalition and participate in an upcoming virtual roundtable discussion where we will review the proposal's potential impact on schools and work together to identify next steps. Additionally, details about the webinar will be shared as they are finalized. If your board would like to participate, we kindly ask that you send us your district's logo so we can include it on the letter to the Arizona Corporation Commission. Please let me or governmental relations know if you're interested in participating. Your engagement will make a meaningful difference in protecting school resources from promoting a fair, balanced outcome for all Arizona schools. So I don't believe this involves or constitutes BVUSD having to get a lawyer and become involved at that level, but rather just lending our voice to the opinion that ASBA is going to bring to the ACC. That's how it is that I read it. But anyway, so that's the entirety of the letter, if no one else was able to view that. Steve, did you have something?
I think we should do it as a board.
Okay. Fair enough. Anybody else? Dr. Finch?
I would also recommend that we get involved. I think remember, this involves money. So this is not politics, this is money. And so if they're going to raise the rates 14%, that's real money. So I think they're sending out this request to all school districts, but as you know, Deer Valley has a voice. And I think it's our duty to represent and be part of the discussion, especially for our rural schools and those that don't have the horsepower that we do to fight for what's right. So I would recommend that you send one member to kind of be the spokesperson for the board, or participate together and watch as a group. But that would be my 2 cents.
Anything further on this topic?
I would ask if the Zoom time is not a time I can make it, that I could delegate another board member, unless we're all going to be on the Zoom.
It sounds like there's interest from a greater percentage of the board to participate, so I'll just make sure that that link is available however that comes across, if this is the direction the board wants to go.
Do we have to vote on it? Do we need to change the?
We're just asking for the board for permission to participate.
So then if that's the way it was read, it's fine. as
So,
it
yeah,
is.
yeah, it's
I'll-
just
I'll
the
probably
governing board
participate through
approved
ASBO,
representation for DVSD to participate in the ASBA School Coalition on the APS rate increase. So, yeah, it's not very specific, but it gives us the broad ability to participate if that's the direction the board would like to go.
It's fine.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Up next, preview item 6A, Dr. Finch.
Just a reminder, as they get up on the screen, the ASBA is currently working on the legislative changes and merging all their policies. So you're going to see policies every meeting, probably till the end of the year, maybe even longer, because then they're going to have more changes. But the one that I'm doing today is, again, just a merger, and that's BE, policy BE. That one there is about school board meetings. They are actually merging a couple and removing the current policy BEC that's in there about executive sessions and open meetings, and they're going to remove it to another spot. So we're recommending that we take the ASBA edits for a preview. And if you have any questions about it, we have 2 weeks to do some digging for you. If you need to find out why they're doing it or what they're changing, we can send us an email and we'll go find out.
So if I understood what I read in the markups correctly, it's just like you said, they're taking policy A and policy B and mashing them together. So you see a bunch of crossouts on one and a bunch of red on the other because they're now
Correct.
becoming one longer policy.
Correct.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Finch? Mrs. Fisher?
I don't have any comments for Dr. Finch, but I think that we as a board need to be a little cautious as we look at some of these changes. And while I do appreciate ASBA and the work they do, we have, individuals in the industry have found several errors in some of the policies. One specifically that is an error that directly is contradicted by FLSA. And those districts are letting ASBA know so that they can catch it. But I think we need to be a little bit more mindful as we're reading through them, making sure that we're not missing, certain things. Like the one that was caught was specifically whether or not districts were required to do FMLA. And the way the law reads is if you have less than 50 employees and whatnot, and that's the way FMLA reads, but then when it talks about a governmental entity, all governmental entities, regardless of number of employees, are required. So when they changed that policy, they went against FLSA, which you cannot. And so a few things like that have been caught by other boards, and then of course they share it and you kind of find it and see it. So I just think we need to be a little bit more cautious about reading when things are being merged, matched, and things maybe being excluded, because they are very impacting on, say, our HR department when, or if we are in a lawsuit and our policy is written a certain way, we have no backup. So that's just my 2 cents, because it just came up recently in a few other meetings.
No, I completely agree. Anything further?
I did read all of them, and I had some questions on removing the days, the actual days and times, like the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of each calendar month. But I understand that we'll revisit that later, I suppose, since I know that's just a newbie question.
Yeah, you'll vote on the dates in January after we do our new leadership. In general, board policy is the 30,000 feet, and then as you have more control over it, administrative guidelines is 10,000 feet, and so, but we, for example, what you're referring to, we'll actually vote on specific days and times, and do every year.
And then will we update our board policy with those new dates and times, or just leave it more general?
We'll probably leave it more general. We'll follow the ASBA recommendation.
Great, thank you.
You'd have to change it every year then.
Anyone else? Nope. On item 6B, Ms. Moffitt.
All right, President Carver, our governing board members, this is staff conduct GBEB. ASBA is recommending a change here for the same reasons that Dr. Finch outlined. You'll see that there's quite a significant section that is being moved instead to policy ECAC. To Ms. Fisher's point, statute, anything in law overrides what we have in policy. So this section is going to exist in policy somewhere, but we are obligated to follow it regardless. I also would like to point out in bullet number 3, you'll see there on the presentation that when we reviewed our policy GBEB, we noted that it was not copyrighted. If you recall, if it has a copyright next to it, it means that it is ASBA's policy. We did not see a difference between the two policies, so we are not sure why it did not hold the copyright emblem. But just note that if the board does choose to adopt this at the next meeting, that symbol will go back onto the policy. Any questions regarding staff conduct?
Thank you for that clarification, because that was my question.
Right there with you, Dr. Peck. Anyone else? Nope. Thank you, Ms. Moffitt.
Okay.
Item 6C, Ms. Moffitt.
Support staff qualifications and requirements. This policy is further outlining all of the things that are necessary for someone to obtain or required to attain an IVP fingerprint clearance card. You'll also see that the section specific to transportation is being moved to a different policy that specifies more around transportation as a whole. So this also is a cleanup policy with some additions of obligations that we were already held to. It's just further elaborating what the law already required.
So in this case, the additions to this particular policy, is it coming from just elaborating?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
The additions to this policy, the red letters, that's the addition to this policy. Is that coming from someplace else, or are they just expanding what the requirements are for IVP?
I don't believe it's an expansion of what is required for IVP. These, when we review them, they are the requirements that we follow currently.
Okay, okay. Anybody else?
There's a little concern with I did get an email about this one from a community member. And it's, and now that I read it again, it's not saying that they don't have to have a fingerprint clearance card just because they went through that program. The exception is because they already have it because they were through that program, is what my assumption would be.
I believe, because it's not in front of me exactly, but I think you're referencing the one if they are in a program but not on the field. So that could be someone that's in a teaching program, let's say, that's in Indiana, but they're enrolled in GCU's program, and they're not going to be doing any student teaching in Arizona, so they wouldn't need an IVP fingerprint clearance card here. So if they're not doing the field experience here, then we would not need, they wouldn't need an IVP. However, anytime they move on to the field, they have to have one.
Right.
For intern hours or for student teaching.
That's very vague. I understand why the community was concerned about it, because it is very vague, but it isn't technically factual.
You're looking at A, under exceptions? Okay. Yes.
And then B is the one that says that they technically already have it. Okay. So for that one, I guess I just want to make a point to the community. I'll respond to the community member specifically that sent me an inquiry, but I want them to realize what that is actually saying. It is not saying that we will have unfingerprinted teachers. All staff that is in contact with our students are fingerprinted and will continue to be fingerprinted.
Including interns.
Yes, that is not what that is saying. So if you have a question, please contact the district or someone to clarify it for you, because it's not saying that we're not going to have them fingerprinted.
Dr. Pack?
This is more of a general question, but since we're talking about fingerprints, I went to some governing board training. I can't remember, they're all running together. And the speaker was talking about being cognizant, I'm pretty sure it was an ASBA one, maybe not, being cognizant of the level of fingerprint clearance, like there's a level 1 or level 2, and some levels things can get passed. If they just get a fingerprint clearance card to do something and somehow that person ends up in a teaching position. So I assume that the district's super diligent in doing the highest level to catch all occurrences.
As President Carver, Dr. Pack, yes, that is accurate. And we do require that level of fingerprint clearance card for every employee in the system.
Thank you.
Anything further from Ms. Moffitt?
No, and I just do want to know that the Department of Education requires to get your teaching cert. Because I had a fingerprint clearance card for DEMA, the Department of Military Affairs. And when I got my teaching cert, they made me go and get re-fingerprinted. The military one was not considered good enough, so they require it anyways.
Thank you, Ms. Moffitt. Appreciate your time this evening. On to number 7, call to the public. Dr. Pack.
The board invites public comment on the district's business in general and on any item in specific. All speakers must observe the rules of decorum. Speakers must fill out a card listing name, address, and topic and hand it to the board secretary prior to the president calling the meeting to order. Speakers must make their comments in no more than 3 minutes. If necessary to accommodate all speakers within the 30-minute overall limit, the board president may shorten each speaker's time. Constructive criticism is in order. Rudeness, vulgarity, disruptive conduct, or remarks disrespecting personal dignity are not in order and will not be allowed. Under the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the governing board cannot discuss or act on any items not listed on the agenda. Board members may respond to criticism made by a speaker, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Can I please have Tiffany Benson, Kelly Fisher, and Kirsten Dewey approach the microphone, and please state your name before you speak. Thank you.
Yes. My name is Tiffany Benson. I am the founder of Restore Parental Rights in Education. Anyone can visit rpredu.org to learn more. For the principal and administrators at Stetson Hills, Arizona's parental rights bill states all parental rights are exclusively reserved to a parent of a minor child without obstruction or interference from the state or any government entity. Parents have the exclusive right to direct the upbringing and education of their children. Administrators can't just pull students from class, ask invasive questions that are none of their business, and make the child sign paperwork, all while withholding information from parents. DVUSD students may be your pupils, but they are not your kids. In response to the school operations and safety coordinator, if you want to take a proactive approach in addressing student attendance patterns and better understand the barriers students are facing, then you need to go to the parents. If you want to formulate a plan in this district to solve truancy issues, common sense and the law says you go to the parents first. It's impossible to improve attendance and academic success if your only initiative is to interrogate children behind their parents' backs. This does not build trust, and it's not a legitimate process. To me, it seemed like it was a test to see what the district might be able to get away with in order to hit some attendance goal. And there was also a test to see how parents would respond. As a big proponent of school choice, I will continue to do what I can to ensure that Deer Valley and every school district in Arizona has to compete for the most important people in the district. The most important people in the district are not the administrators. It's not even the teachers. The most important people are the children. Again, Tiffany Benson, rpredu.org.
Good evening, Dr. Finch, President Carver, governing board members, colleagues, and guests. My name is Kelly Fisher. I'm a 25-year veteran kindergarten teacher in DVUSD and currently serve as the president of the Deer Valley Education Association. I stand here tonight thrilled beyond words that our DVUSD override was approved by the voters of our community. I'm not only happy about the override, I'm also extremely proud of the work our DVA PAC and DVA members put into getting this over the finish line. DVA members, along with one of our board members and his spouse, labor union partners, and civic organizations, along with dedicated community members, knocked a total of 8,000 doors, sent 6,200 handwritten postcards, put literature on cars at every inter-district sporting event or school event from July through November 4th, texted 13,000 young voters, texted hundreds of AEA members who live within DVUSD, hosted 4 standouts, and phone banked about 2,000 voters asking them to support our students in schools. This work was not done by one person. It was done by a group of educators and supporters of public education who believe in providing extraordinary opportunities for every student in every Deer Valley classroom. And while it was a team of educators who did the work, a huge thank you goes out to our 2 DVA PAC officers, Katie Stell and Sahir Afzal. They devoted countless hours of time and energy, along with putting up with a micromanaging president, to make sure we increased our outreach this year, and it obviously paid off. I'm grateful as well for an amazing officer team and a committed group of DVA leaders and members who jumped into action as soon as the school year started. Of course, our efforts would not have been as successful without the amazing Deer Valley Votes for Kids PAC. They were literally the backbone of all of our work. Together, we made a great team, and the leaders and members of DVA are so grateful for Katie Mae Smith and Kirsten Dewey. I would also like to give a huge thank you to Marshall Militano, Julie Stockwell, Judy Schwiebert, Stephen Marsha Botfeld, Jeanette Scuforos, the LD3 Dems, the entire Sierra Verde staff, Lucha, Dr. Galligan, Jenna Moffett, Matt Herrera, and Amy Moore for working alongside DVA members to do what is best for our students. Thank you to every single person who took time to support DVUSD schools and our staff. We have a saying at AEA that says no one is going to save us but us, and this could not ring more true with the work we did together for the students of Deer Valley. Thank you.
Evidently, you get more time. We need the 3-minute one on in the back, please. That's right. One more speaker. She snuck in at the last minute.
Gives me a minute to follow Kelly. Oh, okay. I'll start now. It's okay. Oh, thank you. My name is Kirsten Dewey. I'm a parent in the district, but I'm also co-chair with Katie Mae Smith for Deer Valley Votes for Kids PAC. And I also wanted to stand up and say thank you to all our voters and all who supported the override election. As Kelly touched on, it was a team effort to get this to pass for our students. Oh, sorry. So first, I want to say thank you to everybody who voted. This was a nonpartisan ballot measure to support our students, and I think it's important to remember the nonpartisan part of that. Today, education has become very political, but funding education for our students is not political. I want to do a special thank you to those who put in so much time outside of their normal work and really made the difference for this election. To our teachers, Kelly Fisher, Katie Stell, Sahir Afzal, Stacy Broche, and Liz Clarkson, thank you so much for all you did. You worked all day and then you went after school, you did lit drops, you canvassed every weekend, you put your whole heart into getting this passed for our kids, and as a parent, I appreciate it. To board members Steve Botfeld and Paul Carver, thank you for all your efforts to support the override election. This is what parents and community members want to see from our elected school board members. We want to see them showing public support for our students and for our schools. We want to see nonpartisanship from our school board members. And we don't want to see political grandstanding. Parents want to see more of our community members in the community visiting our schools, educating our community members and our families. And I appreciate Steve and Paul for doing all they did the last few months to help with the election. I also want to give a shout out to our PTA and PTO groups. As a previous PTA president, I know how busy these parents are, and they went above and beyond to make sure that families knew about the election and to remind them to vote and return their ballots. Thank you. And lastly, we had some really amazing standout volunteers, and I feel like they deserve some appreciation. Marsha Botfeld, Brendan Anderson, Julie Stockwell, Marshall Milianto, Crystal Rambo, Connie Henry, Jeanette Scopus, Beverly Jones, Anna Rose Lilly, Valerie Harris, Mary Fortney, Dino Cotton, and Blair. Thank you so much for all your efforts, and again, thank you so much for supporting our students.
Next up, governing board reports, Mrs. Fisher. I'm sorry, hold on one second. I always get ahead of the timer. There you go. Sorry about that.
It has been a very, very busy few weeks. I think because the parents know that I am not afraid to come in here and stand up and speak on their behalf. The ones that aren't on the in come to me. I received a lot of concerns about the use of district resources to influence the outcome of an election. And ironically, it was a lot of parents who actually supported the override. They didn't support the actions of the district. So that's a concern out there. I told them there's something I could do about it. Then I received a lot of concerns about our district being used, committees being used, people being put on committees to support big construction companies for the city of Phoenix, directly linked to Ms. O'Brien. And again, we have no control when board members take seats in committees that are not in their neighborhoods and vote the way the big construction companies want them to, or support what the big construction companies want them to. Accusations were made about potential kickbacks and whatever else, because that's what people do. People make accusations. And what I was very clear to tell everyone is if you have true and actual facts, contact the Attorney General. If you don't, then just don't say it because you don't know. Being someone who's accused of things that I've never done, thought, or said really disturbs me, and I don't want you to do it to anybody else. So it's real simple. Then I received concerns about standards-based grading. And this came from multiple parents that we do still, in fact, have standards-based grading in place. And the concern also came from some teachers. Today I received a call from a family who left the district when the kids were masked and when we went through all that. And they went to a charter. Their students have aged out of the charter because they're now, I guess charters are for younger kids or for high school, but not junior high. And the quote was, after aging out of the charter, they came back to DVUSD and they are disappointed that the kids have no standards, no book reports, are lacking in patriotism, no 9/11 celebration or discussions, and minimal Veterans Day participation as well. And I guess the worst part was that this parent is afraid, and multiple parents are afraid. They're afraid because they've seen what has happened. They have watched as Ms. Hawkins has been virtually executed by DVUSD. Her character maligned. Other parents have as well. And then we had a parent who, yes, I did repost. And yes, she said the F word. I would much rather someone cuss in front of me than lie continuously. And I don't want this parent, whom I've never physically met, to become the next Tiffany Hawkins, to be executed because they believe somehow she's linked to me. Our parents deserve respect. They do not deserve to be doxxed. They do not deserve to have their employers contacted. They do not deserve to have an envelope full of penis glitter sent to their home when they have young children. This is the disgustingness that is coming out of Deer Valley. And I don't believe that's who we are, and so it needs to stop. Every parent that has a concern for their child does not deserve to be abused because they dared to speak up. And so whomever it was that did it, whether it was employee or community member or whomever, they're obviously on an in because they know what things are going on. Stop it. It's illegal. That's it.
This is another session of the good, the bad, and me. The ugly. The good. The override passed. And all those who worked hard, and I'm looking at many of them right now, included teachers, staff, and normal people like my wife, Marcia. Maybe she's not that normal. It took hard work and dedication. Congratulations. The arts continue to impress. I've seen 3 plays at 3 high schools since the last meeting. We saw the importance of being earnest at Boulder Creek, the Lightning Thief musical at Mountain Ridge, and thank you for Mountain Ridge for spelling board member names correctly, and Clue at Deer Valley High School. They were really good. The Gifted program is a program that most people don't really see. Last time I spoke, you were told about my meeting 2 gifted classes. What I forgot to tell you was that to get to one of those classes, they sent a 7-year-old to take me to the through the courtyard to the classroom. The teacher didn't speak to me. A range of 7 to 11-year-old students taught me what they were learning, and I didn't learn it that fast. And after meeting the leader of the DVUSD gifted program, I learned something else. These students are not just gifted, they're sometimes in turmoil because of their abilities. One of the goals of this program is to teach them how to fit into their childhood world. There are 840 plus students in the gifted program. That's approximately 3% of our student population. Think about this for a second. That's a lot of kids. The bad. Believe it or not, there are people out there who claim that there was cheating to get the override passed. My one response to that criticism, prove it. Stop whining and prove it. And now the ugly, it's still me.
Thank you, Mr. Bodfield. Dr. Pack.
Thank you, President Carver. So I've been reading lots and lots of vouchers, and the more I read, the more I see patterns. We spend a lot of money on milk and food for our children, which is important to nourish them. And I do want to reiterate, when I submit questions and ask questions, it's all under constructive criticism, because, you know, if there's a coding error or something I don't understand, it's for the betterment of the district and everybody. So thank you again for answering my questions. Fun fact for the public, the district spent $41,000 on the soap phone for Mandarin, Mandarin cranberry hand soap. So yay for kids washing hands. And also I wanted to shout out for David Walter, who donated some chess sets to our schools. Anybody that's been in the district a long time might remember Bob Fogel, who touched many children's lives with chess, including my own. So the fact that this Mr. David Walter is willing to promote chess, which of course teachers know and parents know is great for the math brain, yay for David. Also, excited that the override's passing, and just a reminder, some of us shout on rooftops and some of us talk to a lot of people coming and going. And so if you did not see me out handing out signs, I was talking to my neighbors, talking to my teacher friends, the wide reach of people in our community. So I did value Dr. Finch in his update, saying, try again, and that the whole ordeal was a blessing in disguise, as it allowed us to examine every system to make sure it is at the proper size. So thank you for that. One last hurrah, congratulations to Village Meadows for winning the 75-inch TV during the Tech Fest store prize, and that will be used for the campus wide, and that's exciting. And also, just as a little side note, I used to be that teacher that did book reports, and if you read the Book Whisperer, book reports are not actually the best practice for teaching reading and comprehension, but I'm all about parental involvement and promoting reading and comprehension. But the Book Whisperer, there's a book for you to read. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pack. It's been a busy few weeks since we all met last time. I was able to attend a couple of our trunk or treats here in the district. Oddly enough, I won a prize for the spookiest trunk at Sunrise. I don't know how that works when you're wearing an inflatable dinosaur costume, but it worked out, I guess. Attended the sub recognition event that we had here at the district office. We had 15 substitutes, classified and certified, that were acknowledged for their outstanding service to the students in their respective schools. Also, later on that same evening, we had English language learners gifted resources event over at the Innovation Center. Sometimes they have a whole bunch of people show up, sometimes not very many, and that night there weren't very many people that showed up, but it was amazing. They still held the event. I just felt bad for the one parent, because they then had about 8 to 10 of our administrators standing around making sure that they had all the information that they needed. So it was kind of funny, but it was good to see the commitment from our folks. I attended the Paseo Hills Veterans Day event. I was able to go with my stepson, who also served in the military. We have family that goes to that school, and it was it was good to see the recognition from the kids. The kids actually, for those of you that have been to Washington, D.C. and have seen the Korean War Memorial, they actually did a reenactment of that war memorial and did a little bit of an explanation behind the memorial and everything, and it was pretty neat. They had first responders, fire truck, the ladder truck, and SWAT and whatnot on display back on the playground after the event was over. And for those of you that don't know, in the Deer Valley School District, as is state law, we start every school day with the pledge and a moment of silence. And if you're unaware of the dozens of Veterans Day celebrations that took place in our district, I suggest that you get out when it gets close to next November, when it's Veterans Day, and go to your local school, because I can guarantee you that you probably couldn't find a school that did not have a Veterans Day celebration. So we are hugely in tune with knowing where it is that we live and the celebration of the people, the men and women that have given us the freedom to do so. I was able to attend the Arizona All-State Show Choir, and that was cool. We had 9 of our folks that were participating in it, and if you'd never had a chance to attend that, show choir is a couple of other things. There were some innuendo statements made by somebody on the governing board that's sitting in some sort of seat that says something or another about people that get to build and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so I'm the guy that sits on the Village Planning Committee for North Gateway, and that happens to be the area around TSMC. They put people on these village planning committees that either live or work in that area, and because Deer Valley is the North Gateway Village, I was actually asked if I would help to represent and give a viewpoint for the school district when it came to some of the developments that go on up there. Not the first time that somebody has either insinuated or actually blatantly said that I'm on the manner, shape, or form. And to Mrs. Fisher's point, if you have proof, please bring it. Otherwise, it is slanderous and liable, and I take personal offense to that, because for those of you that know me, I do this because being of service is something that we should all strive to do as we get to a point in our lives where our children are no longer at home and we're empty nesters. We should be giving back to the community that helped raise our children and do so much for us. And so I don't look for anything except the opportunity to serve, and I appreciate that opportunity. On the note of the M&O, this time around it passed by almost 1,500 votes. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but for perspective, last time the M&O passed, it was by less than 400 votes. So almost a 400% increase in the people that helped to make that happen. I know there's a lot of concern when it comes to school districts and how they use their money, and that's what hopefully you've elected us up here for. And as I'm always saying from the dais, we're only as good as the community involvement, and this was a marvelous example of community involvement. Turnout this time was over 3 points higher than the last election, and you should never leave all the decisions in anything up to just the elected officials. Anytime there's an opportunity for the community to voice their concerns, you should, and you should always be given the opportunity to do so. Again, I'm thankful for the opportunity to serve you guys, and I believe that's off to Dr. Finch.
Thanks, Mr. Carver. I did attend a lot of events the last couple of weekends that were kind of in tournament season, and the cross-country team at Mountain Ridge became runner-up. They'll be here in front of the board here soon to get their recognition. They were ranked number 1 in state and came up a couple points short, and did a really great job. O'Connor, as well as I think Boulder Creek also had state competitors at the cross country. We have volleyball beach, that was going on, indoor volleyball for girls, swim and dive. There's pretty much one thing about a big district like this with 5 comprehensive high schools, there's something going on every day. So if you want to get plugged into what's happening, we just had a bunch of middle school championships as well in softball and baseball the last couple of weekends as well. So there's always something to get plugged in. I want to echo Mr. Carver as well. We had dozens of Veterans Day celebrations, and I've been in multiple school districts in multiple states, and no one does it like Deer Valley, where we go next level when it comes to Veterans Day celebration. So I sad to hear that parent didn't get involved to get a chance to get a part of it, because that there's some really amazing ones. We also had a BOTA last weekend. That's the state marching band. Titles are at stake, and Mountain Ridge did win the state title again for the 4th time in a row. Yay, go Mountain Lions. I think it's Desert Vista, Desert Vista won it for 10 years in a row, and then all of a sudden now we're taking away from them, and that's nice to have our own little dynasty brewing. O'Connor did really well as well. They marched up to 4th place. Congratulations to them. They really blossomed in their program. Goldwater placed 6th as well. So we had 3 of our 5. Last year, all 5 were in. The 2 that missed this year only missed by a point or 2. So hopefully we'll all be back on that final day for the state title. So congratulations, Mount Ridge. We have a lot of, Mr. Botfeld mentioned it too, lots of plays, lots of concerts. Make sure you plug in to get a chance to see those, see the students in action. They're quite amazing. And if you haven't been following me on social media, I had a little adventure today with Santa. Yes, he came out early. We stole him from Lowe's Hardware, where they have all the, no, that's not true. We have our own Santa. I know Santa. And we went out and gave 2 winners of the holiday cards. So check out the pictures. They're pretty cute. And thanks to Santa for helping Deer Valley out. Well, I also, too, want to thank everyone that helped out with the override. It took a team effort. Everybody just did their part. And I think that's really the secret, is everybody just does their part. We have a bunch of Thanksgiving meals that are getting boxed up throughout the community, funneling through Annie's Closet, and that'll be going on through the Christmas season as well. So thanks to all the people that run that. It takes a small army to pull that off. With the LDS Church, I'll show, also is an important piece for us. That we get about 100 boxes food at least 2 or 3 times a year just from their organization. So thanks to them. With the override passing, I've already been in the Friday update many times, so I'll talk a little bit about more for the public that's might be listening. It's kind of what's our next steps. And I think the main thing I want to get across is that we as a district need to think of 2035, not 2025. And so many of our neighbors around us are closing schools. A lot of them are landlocked. But there's one variable in the equation that's different in our neighborhood than anywhere else, and that's TSMC. There's going to be another anthem and a half that's going to pop out right around that at the factory. If you didn't look at the latest Vibe magazine from up north, has really good articles on kind of the evolution of that space, and I've been involved in that discussion for years. And my theory is if you're not there participating, then things get done to you that you don't want. So our boundary committee is starting to meet to look at maybe some tweakage and maybe some repurposing of schools in the near future. They've been working since last May, so we'll be continue to refocus them and get them look at our options as we kind of plan for 2035. So thanks again to all the folks that helped us pass the override. It made a big difference, and it's going to change our future for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Future meetings are posted on the district website. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Drive safe, stay dry and warm.